So this is my 2025 February forecast, mainly for the DMV, so areas around DC, Mid-Atlantic. This applies to really from DC to Philly, I would say. Um, if you're north or south of there, this doesn't apply to you. So focusing on that area. What I have up here is the sea surface temperature anomaly, so the difference of average from the sea surface temperatures. This is where I want to start, and the oceans are very crucial to our weather. The first thing you're going to want to notice here is this cold pool in the central equatorial Pacific. This is a La Nina. La Ninas in the Mid-Atlantic are typically associated with warmer weather, and when we do get storms, they cut to our northwest, which is basically when they track across the Ohio Valley, like that. And when they track across the Ohio Valley, they draw mild air from the Atlantic Ocean, and they rain, or they're mixed to rain, or they're rain to mix. Not exactly great for snow, but the La Nina is been kind of slow to develop and weak. Hasn't really been maturely developed until I'd say early January is when it really started to get developed. It was developing in December and really started to get developed in early January. It's weakened since then. It's not very strong, and I think it will impact our weather some, but not impact our weather too much because it's weak. So it's La Nina, but it's not great, but it's not terrible. Now, the other thing that I think is going to be crucial, and this is something I think has been crucial really all of winter, is this warm pool sort of near Alaska. This warm pool just south of Alaska that you see there. And what has been the theme of this winter is undermodeled negative EPO or Alaskan blocking. And when you have this warm pool south of Alaska, it tends to reinforce a ridging pattern there, a pattern of ridging in Alaska. And it's positive PDO like that sort of blob. It's not exactly like the blob. The blob was more of a marine heat wave. This isn't exactly a marine heat wave, but it's warmer than average waters, and that tends to encourage ridging there. And I think this is something that has kept us colder than normal, especially in the east, is this area of warm water. I think that's something to watch in terms of making the EPO go negative. The other main thing with the sea surface temperatures is this colder Atlantic. This is going to help with the mixing for storms. So we do get those events that draw up Atlantic moisture. You get less moisture to draw from. So if we were to get a big storm, it likely wouldn't be huge. Like I'm talking 2 feet. You'd only get like 8 to 12. We got one that came up from the subtropical jet, so energy out of the southwest and came off the coast. But you'd be talking about less mixing issues. That's for I don't think there's a big storm actually, but um, when you talk about less warm water, you have less mixing issues. You also talk about less moisture. Um, the other thing would be sea surface temperatures in the MJO areas. So you have warmer sea surface temperatures in the warm phases and colder in the cool phases. Now that's not great. Typically, you want to be the opposite because warmer waters support thunderstorm activity, which is what the MJO is. Colder waters do not support it. However, this doesn't mean you can't get MJO activity into its colder phases. Even null in its colder phases, so when the thunderstorms disappear or they're weaker, it's still cold. And you haven't really seen the MJO not move into its cold phases. It moved into its cold phases in January when it got cold. So it's not terrible, but it's just something to worth knowing, something to watch out for. That brings me into my next thing, which is the MJO. So the MJO, eastward moving convective, eastward moving convection, basically, which is English for thunderstorms that travel from the east coast of Africa to the central Pacific near the dateline. That's all it is. But it affects our weather here. Phases associated with warm in the MJ are generally phases 4, 5, and 6. Cold are going to be 8, 1, and 2. 3 and 7 are what I'd call transitional phases. 3 is more of a warm phase and 7 is more of a cold phase. But 8 went into the biggest cold phases in my opinion. 4, 5, 6 are the biggest warm phases. Maybe in neutral Enzo you could argue 781 is colder than 812, but generally 8 1 and 2 are coldest. Either way, what we see with the forecast here is pretty good in my opinion in terms of what the European model is showing. It races the MJO through the maritime continent, which is 4, 5, and 6, which are warm phases, and that's going to be like Australia, Indonesia, that part of the world. And it has it weak in phase 6, but it only lasts there for like 2 days, and it kills it in phases 4, 4, and 5, and it also races it through there. Pretty good in my opinion. And you want it to be strengthening out of phase 6 into phase 7. This is good. Phase 7, we're going to call it transitional phases because you start to develop your high latitude blocking in phase 7. What this means is that in phase 7, the NAO tends to go negative and the EPO tends to go negative. And if you remember, if you can kind of see here, what happened last time is around the 27th of last year, which would be 2024, not technically last year. You can see here, the MJ went to phase 7, and it developed a negative EPO, negative NAO combo that lasted through most of January, or will last through most of January. And it developed that cold pattern. So this phase 7 is when you develop your high latitude blocking. So we want to strengthen into phase 7. That way you can develop our EPO and NAO to be in favorable phases. Good looks here. Now, I would caution that it's not like all models are showing this. This is a GFS extended, and this is something that would be much worse. You don't kill the MJO in the maritime continent. It sort of races it through phases 4 and 5. That stalls out in phase 6. You're talking about it being in phase 6 for 12 days, and it's strong in phase 6, and it doesn't go out till the 19th. And then you talk about it being in phase 8, which is really its cold phase, and like late February. You don't get your cold starts until like last week of February, first week of March. It would be terrible. Definitely still got snow first week of March, and last week of February, but it's harder climate wise versus first week of February, second week of February. And it's just not as good. You want the MJO stalling out in phase 6. But this doesn't mean we would have snow chances, but it's not as good. In terms of what I would lean towards, I would probably lean towards a GFS, but not as aggressive. I think it's too aggressive with it stalling out in phase 6, in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents about it. But I don't really see the MJO getting killed in phases 4 and 5. I think it's kind of hard to believe with the SSTs there. And I don't think it gets stalled in phase 6. I think it goes into phase 7. But we'll see. Either way, that's the MJO. Now, take a look here at the sort of polar vortex. This isn't the polar vortex, but sudden stratospheric warming events, are they going to happen? The short answer is no, probably not. I don't really see any signs of it on here. Maybe one developing in Asia, but these have 3 to 4 week lag time, and it likely wouldn't affect us till March if this were to develop into a sudden stratospheric warming event. Yeah, almost. Anyway, this here, not like sudden stratospheric warming events. So I doubt we would get one of those. Then again, it's possible. This model, GFS extended ensemble, or GFS ensemble, I wouldn't really trust it. So possible, but I'm not seeing anything. Now, in terms of the European ensemble, what's happening with Connections European ensemble? The reason I think, and I'll get to this later, is that the reason I think the month starts out warm is because it's unfavorable teleconnections, positive AO, positive EPO, positive NAO, negative PNA. Negative WPO is favorable, but that's not going to be enough to overcome. So, These are all unfavorable, but I think they could move into favorable phases, especially with the MJO. So, yeah, if the MJO moves to favorable phases, we're probably gonna get colder. If not, probably not. Not everything hinges on it, but a lot hinges on it. And also La Nina is not helping us exactly. But yeah, everything starts out warm, and then maybe it flips to cold. All right. So this is my forecast of temperatures 1 to 2 degrees above normal. Snow 3 to 6 inches slightly below normal. 1 to 2, I would put it normal if it wasn't for La Nina. I think La Nina is going to make us slightly warmer than normal, even though it's weak. I think we'll probably, like the first third of February will probably be warmer. Second, third will probably be near average. Third, third, probably below average. But I think the warmer part of the month will be warmer than the colder part of the month. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the last third maybe will be like 4 degrees below normal, but the first third will be 6 degrees above normal, something like that. Snow 3 to 6 inches, which is just slightly below normal, but very close to average. This basically is my thinking that we'll get one moderate event or two light events. But we'll see. Either way, it looks interesting. The month doesn't look cooked, and I think we'll get one or two snow events in the Mid Atlantic / GC region.